And we have a training for you guys today, the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And we're going to give you guys an opportunity to look at the way in which your teams and organizations are having challenges and also the strengths that you guys have. The idea is we really address your challenges and give you some really good tools to work on those challenges. But it's also based on building on what works, using your strengths that you guys already have in your personality styles and that's already there on your team to get some good results and more effectiveness for your team.
And also when we say team, the great thing is that all of this is applicable to families too. So you can think about your family system, you can think about, just even 2 people are a team, right? So it could just as well be the 5 dysfunctions of a marriage or the 5 dysfunctions of a family. It's applicable to that as well. So let's just talk really briefly about the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Has anybody read the book? No. Patrick Lencioni? Okay. No. So I'll just show you this is what his book looks like. And he has all kinds of stuff that goes with this. But he's had this book out for about 10 years, and a lot of teams use it. So we'll have organizations actually call us and say, hey, can you guys do 5 dysfunctions of a team? Because it's pretty widely read. And so he's come up with, it's nothing earth-shattering, but it's pretty solid. It's a solid concrete model, and so teams like to use it. So here's what it is. The first thing that he looks for is absence of trust. And the thing he talks about trust is it's actually a function of vulnerability. So what that means is on a team, are people okay sharing their strengths and challenges with each other in an atmosphere where they know they're not going to be like squished for sharing a weakness or asking for help. So that's foundation of trust. And then fear of conflict. So conflict, the way Lencioni talks about it, is 2 separate things. One is, can the team or family or group actually have robust debate without it degenerating into interpersonal conflict? So is there space for all voices to be heard, even if it's a dissenting opinion? So that's one half of it. And the second half of it is, how is interpersonal conflict handled? So those 2 pieces are in conflict. And then commitment actually has to do with the decisions that are made on a team or in a group. And so if people are actually committed to the decisions, or sometimes what happens is in the boardroom a decision gets made and then the whole team leaves the meeting, and then what happens outside?
Nothing. Go back to normal.
Go back to the way it is. People either forget about the decisions that were made, or they say in the meeting, oh yeah, I'm all on board. And then once they leave the meeting, they're like, boy, that was a dumb idea. Okay, so that's lack of commitment. There's no buy-in, there's no alignment on the team decisions. Avoidance of accountability. These 2, fear of conflict and avoidance of accountability, go together in this way, in that one of the exercises we'll have you look at is coming up with conflict norms. So ideally, every team or pair or family is going to have agreements about how conflict is handled. So once you come to an agreement about how conflict is handled, how do you think accountability might fit into that? So let's say we've all agreed, for example, that we're not going to gossip. We're going to take our disagreements directly to the person involved. And then Mark makes me mad. And then I go, Linda, can you believe what Mark said? Okay, now where are we? Yeah, conflict, but we've made agreements, and so in that example, what does Linda have to do?
So to him, call you out on it.
Call me out on it. Say, hey, we have a team agreement that we're not going to gossip. If I help you kind of talk through this, will you agree to go back and tell Mark directly? Something like that. So what I see is that even if teams are good at these 3 things, this is very difficult because it's about actually holding ourselves and each other accountable to what we've agreed to. Almost every team we've ever worked with does not do that well. So it's difficult. We'll talk more about that. Inattention to results. He talks about results as making sure that everybody has the same priority. So there's one overriding priority that everybody's bought into, everybody agrees to. And then there's visible ways of tracking progress towards that goal. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Now, you'll notice he's put these all in the negative, hasn't he? Why do you think he did that?
It's easier to pay attention to.
Yeah, it's compelling. He actually, if you watch any of his videos, he says, I did that because I didn't think the 5 functions of a team would sell any books. Right? However, there's a whole field of learning called, sorry, I just forgot for a second, appreciative inquiry. And in appreciative inquiry, they actually went in as consultants to organizations. And these organizations wanted to fix things. Like, we have a lot of conflict, fix it. And what they found is that when they focused on the problems, guess what happened?
They got bigger.
They did. They did. And so this whole field of study was created, appreciative inquiry, which is basically, let's build on what's working. And so now you have things like the strengths finders. Let's look at what's working and build on those instead of beating down what's not working. So all we've done here is we've taken the 5 dysfunctions and changed the wording on it. And just notice the difference that this makes, okay? So we go to building a foundation of trust. How do we achieve productive conflict? What's the commitment to the team? Accountability, and then focusing on collective results. So what do you see? What's the difference between the first pyramid and this one?
This is where we're wanting to go towards.
Right, right.
The goal, vision.
Yeah, it's more like the
Mission.
vision. And so which is more compelling for you guys? The first one or the second one, or maybe both are equally compelling?
I feel more comfortable with this. Like, I can work towards that,
Yes.
but trying to not do something is much harder.
Right. And it also just, this has a different,
Feel.
to me it's more positive,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's more like we can rally around this as opposed to beating ourselves up about what we're not doing well, right? So that's why we phrase it this way.
And why did you phrase it productive conflict instead of like conflict resolution or something like that?
That's a good question. So honestly, this is just my opinion. I think conflict resolution is a misnomer because a lot of conflicts actually don't get resolved. And so if anything, I call it conflict management. How do we manage a conflict? And what he's talking about is the ability to actually have robust debate. And so that's what he would call productive conflict. So that's why I called it productive conflict. So it's like, can we have debate without it degenerating into some interpersonal conflict? So does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.